The greatest war ever fought was never on the battlefield, but within the mind of man. The chaos and the calm, in a world ruled by noise, chaos and endless struggle, there stands a single truth the Stoics discovered long ago. We cannot control the world, but we can control ourselves. Every battle Marcus Aurelius faced, rebellion, betrayal, plague, began first inside his own mind. Before he could command legions, he had to command his thoughts. Before he could bring order to Rome, he had to bring order to himself. He knew that power without control was destruction, and control without wisdom was slavery of another kind. So he fought the greatest war of all, the war against fear, doubt, and desire. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. These words weren't just written in his journal. They were lived on every battlefield, spoken silently before every decision, whispered into the darkness when he faced the weight of an empire. The enemy within the Stoics taught that the true enemies are not armies but our reactions: anger, envy, fear, pride. Marcus knew that victory over these emotions meant freedom. Failure to master them meant enslavement, no matter the crown on his head. He would sit alone at night, listening to the rain striking his tent, writing reflections not for history, but for his own discipline. He was not writing to the world, he was reminding himself how to live. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. How many times do we suffer in advance? How often do we let anxiety conquer us before the event even arrives? The Stoics called this the sickness of the mind. To live twice through pain, once in imagination, once in truth. Marcus trained himself to stop this disease. To ask, is this within my control? If the answer was no, he released it into the wind. The Emperor's lesson. One dawn, as the sky burned red over Germania, a messenger brought grim news. Another province had rebelled. The generals waited for orders, expecting anger, fear, or blame. But Marcus said nothing. He closed his eyes. The camp fell silent. The storm outside cannot touch the calm within. That was his power. Not to react, but to respond. Not to be ruled by emotion, but to rule through reason. To control your mind is to become your own emperor. To control nothing but still remain unbroken. That is the Stoic crown. The mirror of modern life today, the world is louder than ever, filled with distractions, opinions, and endless judgment. We live not in Rome, but our battles are the same. The enemies are no longer armies, but notifications, doubts, and desires that pull us from peace. We worry about the future. We argue over what we cannot change. We let our emotions decide our destiny. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. To master your mind is to reclaim your life. To pause before anger. To choose calm over chaos. That is the Stoics' revolution, a quiet rebellion against the noise of the world. The dawn of the mind. We fight not against men today, but against ourselves. And as the legions march forward, the camera holds on his face, calm, reflective, unshaken. The storm is behind him, and within him peace. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. The Tempest. Within every man faces two kinds of storms, the one that rages outside and the one that burns within. The Stoic knows the first cannot be controlled, but the second, that is where the true battle lies. Marcus understood this better than any emperor. He commanded armies, yet the hardest command was over his own emotions: fear, anger, sorrow, and pride. When another blames you or hates you, or people voice similar criticisms, go to their souls, penetrate inside, and see what sort of people they are. You will realize there is no need to be racked with anxiety. The Stoic way is not to suppress emotion, but to transform it, to forge strength from the chaos inside. Fire that purifies. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Anger, fear, grief, they are sparks. Left unattended, they burn everything. But guided through discipline, they become the forge of the spirit. Imagine a sword being shaped in the fire. The metal screams as it bends, but every moment of heat gives it purpose. So too does pain refine the soul. Marcus learned to turn frustration into patience, grief into gratitude, anger into focus. He taught himself that emotion is energy. It can destroy or create, depending on the hands that wield it. In every outburst, there is a hidden lesson. Every wound can be wisdom. The Stoic's task is to pause, to breathe, to see what the emotion is teaching before it is allowed to act. The emperor's trial. One evening, during a brutal campaign, a messenger arrived with news of betrayal from within Rome. The camp erupted with fury. Generals shouted for vengeance. But Marcus did not rise. He remained seated, staring at the candlelight. A soldier demanded, "My emperor, why do you not act? Do you not feel anger?" Marcus replied softly, "I feel it, but I do not serve it." His words silenced the tent. He knew that reaction is weakness disguised as strength, that emotion unruled is a tyrant worse than any enemy. If it is endurable, endure it. Stop complaining. For Marcus, mastery was not to be emotionless. It was to feel deeply and yet remain unmoved by impulse. The modern struggle today, we no longer fight in fields of blood, but in storms of emotion, at work, online, in our relationships. We rage at what we cannot change. We panic over what has not yet come. But the Stoic asks, what if the fire within could be your light instead of your destruction? When anger rises, breathe. When fear comes, watch it without judgment. When sadness takes hold, let it pass through without resistance. Each time you do, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You begin to realize that the calmest mind is the strongest weapon. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus' control of emotion does not mean coldness. It means composure. It is strength under serenity. It is the discipline of the warrior who feels everything, but is moved by nothing that does not serve virtue. The flame in the stillness. Let the storm come. We are the calm. And in that stillness every man feels it, the quiet strength of a leader who has mastered himself. Every human being sees the world not as it is, but as they are. The Stoics called this the lens of perception. What you believe, you become. What you focus on, you strengthen. Two men can stand beneath the same storm. One curses the rain, the other thanks it for cleansing the earth. The storm is the same. The difference lies in perception. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them. The mind is both a prison and a temple. When ruled by fear, it builds walls. When guided by reason, it builds wings. The event means nothing until the mind gives it meaning. The emperor's trial of thought, one night, as plague swept through the empire, Marcus received word that several senators had blamed him for the suffering, whispering that the gods had cursed Rome under his rule. His advisors urged him to punish them, to show strength, but Marcus remained silent. He closed his eyes, breathing slowly. "If anyone can show me that I am wrong, I will gladly change," he said, "for I seek the truth which has never harmed anyone." The harm is to persist in one's own self-deception. That night, he wrote in his journal, "Today I was tested, not by men, but by my own mind." He refused to see insult where he could choose understanding. He refused to see hatred where he could choose pity. Because to the Stoic, the world is not cruel or kind, it is neutral. It is our mind that paints it with meaning. The art of reframing. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. To live as a Stoic is to reframe adversity into opportunity. Where others see obstacles, the Stoic sees training. Where others see failure, the Stoic sees feedback. This is not delusion, it is discipline. It is the deliberate choice to turn suffering into strength. When Marcus lost his closest friend, he did not drown in grief. He wrote instead, "Accept death as nature's will, as you accept the falling of leaves in autumn." Pain was his teacher, not his tyrant. When his army starved in winter, he did not curse the gods. He taught his men to endure, saying, "If it is endurable, endure it." Stop complaining. Perception became his shield, the mind's armor against despair, the mirror of modern life today. Our storms are digital, not physical. We drown not in oceans, but in thoughts. We scroll through chaos, headlines, opinions, envy, noise, and wonder why peace eludes us. The Stoics would tell us, peace is not lost. It is simply buried beneath perception. When something goes wrong, when you are rejected, criticized, delayed, remember this. It is not the thing itself that hurts, but the meaning you assign to it. What if you chose differently? What if rejection became redirection? What if delay became preparation? What if pain became proof that you are alive, growing, evolving? That shift is freedom. That is Stoicism in motion. The Emperor's reflection. The world is opinion, and opinion can be changed. He turns and walks through the colonnade as sunlight floods the marble floors. The city awakens behind him, loud, uncertain, restless, but his mind remains still. Reality is shaped not by what happens, but by how we see it. The lesson for the modern mind to control perception is to master peace. It is to wake each day and decide, nothing can harm my mind without my permission. The Stoic does not live in denial of pain. He simply denies it power. He does not escape reality. He sees it clearly, stripped of illusion, fear, and desire. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus, the chains we forge. Most people think of freedom as the absence of control, doing what they want, when they want. But to the Stoic, this is not freedom. This is slavery. Slavery to impulse, to pleasure, to desire. Marcus understood that without discipline, man becomes ruled by his appetites. The Stoic's freedom is not found in indulgence, but in mastery. It is not about obeying every urge, but about choosing which voice within deserves to be followed. He who is brave is free. Seneca. To the Stoics, courage and discipline are brothers. Courage gives us the strength to face the storm. Discipline gives us the wisdom to stay the course. The Emperor's routine. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. His mornings were sacred, not for comfort, but for clarity. He meditated, wrote, and reminded himself of what truly mattered: virtue, duty, and self-command. While others sought luxury, he sought restraint. He ate simply, dressed plainly, and lived with intention. Because to control the mind, one must first train the body. Discipline to Marcus was not punishment. It was preparation. Every act of control, from waking early to speaking little, was a sharpening of the soul. The fire of habit. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. The Stoic understands that life is not measured in years, but in how well those years are spent. Each day undisciplined is a day lost to chaos. Each moment of control is a moment of freedom reclaimed. The Stoic cultivates routine as a warrior cultivates readiness. When the mind and body obey reason rather than emotion, one becomes unshakable. Discipline is not the death of joy. It is the discovery of true joy, uncorrupted by addiction, distraction, and excess. When you act with intention, you no longer drift. When you live with order, you no longer drown in chaos. The disciplined mind is not rigid, it is resilient. It bends without breaking. It endures without losing form. The Emperor's trial of temptation. There is a story told of Marcus during a great feast. Gold goblets overflowed with wine. Dancers moved through the torchlight. Senators laughed too loudly. Amid the celebration, Marcus sat quietly, his expression calm. A friend leaned toward him and said, "Do you not wish to indulge, Caesar? You are emperor. Why restrain yourself?" Marcus smiled faintly and replied, "Because if I must indulge to feel alive, I am already dead." His restraint was not denial, it was dominion. He found more peace in moderation than others found in abundance. And that is the Stoic paradox. The less one needs, the freer one becomes. The mirror of modern life today, discipline is rare because distraction is abundant. We scroll endlessly, consume mindlessly, and mistake comfort for happiness. But the Stoic would tell us, comfort without control is corruption of the soul. Every time you resist an impulse, you are not losing pleasure. You are gaining power. Every time you delay gratification, you are not missing out. You are mastering time itself. To practice discipline is to declare war on chaos. It is to say, I will not be ruled by craving. I will rule myself. First tell yourself what you would be. Then do what you have to do. Epictetus, the path to freedom. Let others rule nations. I will rule my mind. The true empire is within. The Stoic's throne is not built on marble, but on mastery. For when the mind obeys reason and desire bows to virtue, a man becomes untouchable, free not from the world, but free within it. Confine yourself to the present. Marcus Aurelius, The Illusion of Time. The Stoics believed that most suffering is born not in the moment, but in our wandering thoughts, regret for the past, anxiety for the future. The mind, left unguarded, becomes a traveler lost in times that no longer exist. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality, and Marcus understood this well. Surrounded by the noise of war and politics, He sought refuge not in escape, but in presence. Each morning before the empire awoke, he would remind himself, the present is enough. Not tomorrow's plans, not yesterday's burdens. This moment, the breath, the heartbeat, the stillness, is life itself. Do every act of your life as though it were the very last. Marcus Aurelius, to live this way is to live awake, to see the divine in simplicity, the sacred in the ordinary, the emperor's awakening. There is a story told of Marcus walking through a field after a battle. Smoke still rose from the earth. The smell of iron and fire lingered. Around him lay the remnants of chaos. One of his soldiers asked, "How do you remain calm in the midst of all this?" Marcus looked at the horizon, where the first light of dawn began to touch the sky, and said softly, "Because this moment is all that exists, and even this will pass." He saw the impermanence of all things, triumph and defeat, pain and pleasure, love and loss. Nothing lasts, and that truth, to him, was not sorrow. It was liberation. When you accept that all things change, you stop clinging. When you stop clinging, you stop suffering. The stillness between thoughts. When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you will forget your anger. The Stoic path is not about forcing stillness. It is about returning to it. Like a lake after the wind passes, the mind settles when we stop disturbing it. Marcus called this the inner citadel, a place within each person untouched by chaos. To find it, one must listen between thoughts, dwell between breaths, and return to the present moment again and again until peace becomes a habit. This is the essence of Stoic meditation. Not the escape from life, but the embrace of it. To be fully alive in every moment, even in pain, even in uncertainty. Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look there. Marcus Aurelius. The modern battle for presence today. Our minds are under siege. The enemy is no longer war or empire. It is distraction. The endless noise of the digital world pulls us from now into 1,000 imagined lives while the real one slips away. We chase what has not yet happened. We replay what cannot be changed. But the Stoic answer remains the same across millennia. Return to the moment, to pause before you react, to breathe before you speak, to feel the ground beneath your feet and the heartbeat in your chest. The present moment is the only truth that cannot betray you. It is where peace hides, quietly waiting to be noticed. The Emperor's reflection. Everything that has ever mattered has happened now. He rises, walking toward the light. The camera follows him through the grove as the sun fills the frame, bright, timeless, eternal. The mind cannot be free in the past or the future. It can only be free in the present. And in that freedom lies peace, strength, and life itself. The timeless lesson. The Stoics teach us that to control your mind is to master time, to see the past as wisdom, the future as possibility, and the present as eternity. You cannot live yesterday again. You cannot live tomorrow early. You can only live now. So breathe, observe, be still, and remember, the greatest empire you will ever rule is the one within your own mind.